Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A session for the Bachelor of International Business Administration. Today we're going to have a panel discussion. I have here 4 IBA ambassadors who will answer all your questions. Sorry, a bit late, right? I'm Amy Janssen-Brennan. I'm the admissions manager here at RSM, and my team and I are responsible for the admission of students for the IBA program, the master program, and the pre-master program. So who wants to have the first question of the day? Any volunteers? Don't be shy. Maybe we'll do a quick introduction of the ambassadors, and then you can think of your question.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Rosemary. I am 19 years old and currently in my second year of IBA. I did the Dutch VWO diploma, but a bilingual version of it, and I'm here to answer any of your questions, so do not hesitate to ask any questions.
Hi, my name is Eliza, and I'm also a second-year IBA student. I'm Belgian, but I like to call myself a fake Belgian because I lived in Germany and France, and I did, as you can see, the French baccalaureate.
Hi everyone, my name is Nina, I'm 20 years old and I'm Austrian. I lived in Austria all my life, but I went to an international school, so I did the international baccalaureate, and yeah, feel free to ask me any questions.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jonas, I'm German, did the German Abitur, so went down the classic German lower education path, and yeah, I'm 20, also IBA student, IBA 2 student like the other 3, so also again, feel free to ask any questions.
Okay, are there any volunteers now? Yes.
How does the exam system work?
How does the exam system work? What's the question?
Yeah, I guess this is a question that is usually very course specific, but generally you have courses in blocks, which means that there's 4 blocks for a year, starting off next year, which means that usually at the end of the block you have an examination, and some courses also have midterms, which means that there's like an examination which counts for like, say 40–50% already in like halfway through the course. But generally this is very course specific, so there's some courses which have an examination at the end which counts for 100%. Sometimes there's courses where you have several assignments on the way, and the midterm and the final exam, where the final exam is only worth like 20%, not 20%, but like say 30–40%. So generally it's very course specific, but it follows this structure. They usually have a midterm and a final for the courses you have.
And if I can add something, it's mostly multiple choice questions. So I know, for example, in France you're not used to this, but it's still like that.
There are also courses though where you have open-ended questions,
yeah,
so it really depends.
Next question here. Yeah, just repeat the question because probably most people in the audience didn't hear. What are the reasons why you chose to study at Erasmus and not another program?
I chose personally Rotterdam because, first of all, it's ranking, but also it's a very international and diverse city, and I really wanted to find this international atmosphere, which Rotterdam offers. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in France, I thought about doing a French prépa to go to the Grandes Écoles, but then I came here because I was in an international school and my university advisor talked to me about the school. I came to the open days exactly 2 years ago and I just loved it here, so I decided to come here.
Well, yeah, for me it was also, I was looking for an international education because I finally wanted to move out of my home country. I wanted to study in English, but of course I also looked at the rankings, and yeah, I was also at an open day. And yeah, I loved the atmosphere here, and I also loved the way that the course was set up. So looking at all the different parts of business, that really spoke to me, and it's lived up to my expectations. So that's why I chose it.
Yeah, for me, I guess, similar, the main attractiveness was the international surrounding or student body we have here. And yeah, I guess for me it was more specifically IBA itself, because I've been here visiting a friend who just graduated now, and I really like from her experiences, there's like, that just Rotterdam was a good fit for me, as it is a study abroad, it is in English, it is challenging in a way, which I also wanted. So I guess those were my main reasons to come here.
Any questions? There's one up there. We do have microphones, so
What do you wish that you'd known before starting but didn't?
It's a good question.
I have something. I personally, when I came here, I just had like this expectation where everyone would kind of know what they were doing and they had friends and stuff already. And when I came here, like I remember the first month was just terrible. I felt really lonely and I just didn't really know what I was doing here. And if I could like tell myself something, is that actually everyone's in the same, like has the same like problems and the same concerns. And yeah, basically that would be something that I would tell myself.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like just like to not worry that much. I remember the week before I moved here, because I came here alone, so like nobody came with me. I just got on the plane and here I was. And I was terrified. I was so scared. Like the week before I was about to say, never mind, I'm staying home. I don't want to do this. But the moment you come here, like there are so many new students everywhere. And if you're sitting alone somewhere, I mean, I met one of my closest friends now because she asked me for a phone charger and we were both alone. Her baggage got lost. So honestly, everyone has their own struggles and you'll meet people super fast. So I think that's what I would have wanted to hear before I came.
Anyone else have any suggestions?
Yeah, just everyone's very open and everyone's really interested in getting to know each other's different backgrounds and traditions and habits. So yeah, it's a very open and welcoming atmosphere that I felt very welcome in.
Okay, there was another question up back there.
So the ranking indeed says Erasmus is at the top, but what compared to the other universities in the Netherlands are the unique selling points about Erasmus compared to the others?
Well, first of all, I would say that, for example, I think in the general presentation, someone mentioned in Nijmegen they only have around 30% of international students. So something that really sets Rotterdam apart would probably be that I think 65% is international, and a lot of the Dutch students are also have a very international background. So the international flavor of IBA is definitely something that sets it apart from other universities.
Yeah, I guess also generally talking about Netherlands, I guess Rotterdam is the hub for any business studies. So obviously also through the big port, and many companies are headquartered here. So I guess for a business study, Rotterdam is the #1 address in the Netherlands.
I think maybe also one thing that highlights our course is that already in your first year you get to work with a real-life company. So I think that is something very special.
Okay, there's someone here in the front row.
I was wondering about internships and what kind of mobility or links with other universities program work.
So just wait, let me repeat the question because I don't think the rest of the people heard. He's wondering about internships and international experiences that you have here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So basically for the internships, you have the possibility to do an internship in your third year, in the first trimester of the third year, but at the same time you have to choose between either internship, exchange, or minor. But that again, you can kind of change, like it's very flexible. You can do a third year or like a add-on year, so a fourth year after your third year to do an internship, or you can also do it between a sandwich year, so a year between the second and the third. So there are kind of a lot of possibilities in terms of internship, I would say.
Yeah, so generally speaking, in the first half of your third year, you can, as Eliza mentioned, either go on exchange, an internship, or a minor. Exchange is obviously somewhere abroad at one of the partner universities, but you can also do an internship if you feel like it. But yeah, that you basically organize yourself. But there's like support from university. There's the career center and so on and so forth for writing connections. So, but there you can also decide to do an internship even here in Holland, or you can decide to do an internship in Brazil or wheresoever. And if you even want to do it more, that you can always add a year between year 2 and 3 or after your studies.
Questions here in the middle? Oh, okay, up there. Yep.
I love that.
How did you go about housing, coming from abroad?
Oh, coming from abroad.
Well, coming from abroad, to be honest, I just Googled Rotterdam student housing, and what I did in my first year, I lived at the student hotel. So that's student housing, but off campus. There are also housing offered by the university on campus, however, that fills up very quickly. And I would just suggest to really, like, the moment that you decide, okay, I'm coming to Rotterdam, so like I think you get your offer around April, really to start looking for housing, because it is doable, but you just really need to start early.
I guess one of also the major advantages is that you're already selected by like 15th of April. So basically, you know, at end of April that you're in the study. So there's also like a Facebook group created with everyone in. So what I personally did, there's like a lot of people going in and looking for like people to live with. So I basically found my 4 roommates just randomly in this Facebook group. We were all looking for a place. And so we ended up just renting a whole apartment with the 5 of us. And we now continue living in our second year, so luckily it was a perfect match. But there's like a big advantage that you already know it pretty early that you're in, and you can find fellow students also to join forces and also find an accommodation somewhere in the city.
And I personally lived in Hatta, so I don't know if you know it. It's the building on campus, and so it's only for first-year international students. And I personally found it really convenient because it was on campus, so I could get up pretty late. And I was also with 2 other roommates that did different programs. I had one that did IBA, so the economics, and another one doing communication. And the one that was doing economics was Bulgarian, and the other from Guatemala. So that was really nice as well to be able to meet people from different countries and doing different programs. And so everything went really nice, and I really enjoyed my time there.
And for the Dutch people here, I would still really recommend to find housing in the first year, because a lot of the international students, or most, will actually stay during the weekends as they can't fly back home for the weekend. So it's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people. And yeah, same as for the internationals, I would really suggest to start searching for a place early, which is what I also did.
There were 2 questions up here.
Which subjects do you have in the first year?
We do have 15, so I guess there's a lot of subjects coming ahead. But I guess broadly speaking, as IBA has a generally like broad approach, so the first year is called Discovering Business, is kind of the headline of year 1, which means you have introductory courses. You have a course called Introduction to Business, where you basically get to know the different functional areas like human resource management, finance, sales, like all this kind of stuff. And well, you have Strategic Business Plan, which is where you actually work with a real life company already, which Nina also already mentioned before. And you have like a marketing course, you have operations management. So you have really like various courses, so you can really get an insight into several areas. In the second year you can deepen those, and then you can already get a feeling of what you might want to do and choose one of the tracks in year 3 where you can already like pre-specialize. So yeah, I guess finally, just coming back to your question, is that there's a variety of courses covering different functional areas of business.
I think it's maybe also important to say that in the first year you have a lot of just basic courses. So for example, math or academic writing, where you learn to use the English language. So those kind of like are relevant for all your further courses that you will have. And it just kind of, I think, makes sure that everyone's on the same level and that we all know the same things.
Next question.
If you like fail an exam, are you then immediately out of the program?
We have resits, so if you fail an exam, there's still an opportunity to take the resit during the summer, and if you pass the resit, you will be able to go on to the second year of IBA.
There was some, you had...
Yeah, why IBA and what do you want to do with it?
What do you want to do with IBA was the question.
Well, I chose IBA because I was interested in business, and I chose it because it focuses on a lot of different functional areas. And personally, I'm not sure yet what exactly I want to focus on, but that's why I chose IBA. It's a very broad program, so I hope to get to know a bit of everything.
Before applying to IBA, do you recommend having some work experience or volunteering opportunities?
You can, but I don't know if it, like, I had a work experience, but 2 weeks because you have to do it in France, a stage. And then I didn't really had any volunteering experience. Of course, it's always good, but I don't think you have to, because I mean, you were in high school, so I don't know if you really have the opportunity to do something.
Maybe I can answer to that question a bit from an admissions standpoint. Yeah, this is a pre-experience program, and we know you guys are in high school, and we don't expect you to have an enormous CV where you've worked in companies and all this stuff. I mean, of course, it's fantastic if you have that, but it's certainly not expected. We're really more interested in things in your international ambitions and international experience. So for students who haven't had any international experiences, we want to know why you want to have international experiences. And for students who have had them, like exchanges, like I know in the Netherlands, if you do bilingual education, then your program is already full of exchanges. Now, those are the things that we're looking for.
What's the percentage of practical skills you learn?
The percentage?
I don't know.
Roughly speaking?
Because we don't have an exact percentage.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, but what generally happens that, well, we're a research university, so obviously you have like less practical courses than you have at, for example, like hogeschool. But generally we have like the normal like theory courses, and we have a track, basically a skills track, which specifically focuses on, like, we had a course called Effective Business Communication, where it says like how to write a proper motivation letter, how to set up your CV, how to like negotiation tactics, how to present, how to pitch, like those, basically those soft skills you get to learn. You get IT skills as a course, math skills, so you're like continuously supplied with those at one of your courses. Usually all the way through the program you have one skills course at hand. So, but
in terms of percentage, I would say like,
well, 20. 1 out of 5.
20, yeah. Yeah, but I don't, yeah. It's hard to tell.
I also think about half of the courses that we have in our first year are quantitative, such as math or statistics, finance, and accounting. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for Rosemary. You said you did IBA because you wanted to be involved with business, but why didn't you choose bedrijfskunde instead?
Well, I have a past, or in my past, I've lived abroad. I lived in Hong Kong and Switzerland, and when choosing whether to do IBA or BA, I wanted to do IBA because I wanted to find an international atmosphere again with people from all over the world, and I just, it sounded very appealing to me at the open day, and people sounded very open and welcoming, so that's why I chose IBA.
Thanks.
Some questions here?
I'd like to hear from the others why they chose.
Yeah. Okay.
So what?
So who didn't answer? Who didn't answer that question?
Yeah. Should I go first?
Yeah.
So same. I want to, like, I didn't really know what area in business would interest me. I knew that maybe marketing would be interesting, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I chose it because of that. And what I want to do after is, of course, do a master's. But I think I'm not going to go for marketing, but maybe more consultancy. That's really something that would interest me.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think a lot of people choose IBA because it's so broad, and like, I mean, we are, like, when you start, you're only 18, 19 years old, you really don't know what you want to do. So I think it gives you a very good overview. And also, like, when you look at the course manual, a lot of courses, I mean, for me, it was, for example, operations management. I was like, what is that? I don't know what it is. So, like, I think IBA, like, it gives you, like, the insights into what those things are. And then once I've decided which ones I've liked or which ones I didn't like, afterwards I want to do a master and see, okay, this is what I enjoyed, let me do a master in this and I'll specialize in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, again, looking at IBA, you have international business administration, so you have the two components. I discovered my international spirit in a way during high school. When I started, I had Chinese classes, and I went to an internship in Shanghai, where I basically was so fascinated by this cultural shock in a way that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I took a gap year after high school. I went traveling, so I was really sure that I wanted to do something international, because I discovered, well, the world is bigger than my small village in Germany. There's so much more. There's 7 billion people out there, and if I want to communicate, I want to really be proficient in English. And so this was my international motivation in a way. And then, I mean, business administration, studying business, I think for me it was more this, because I feel personally there's a lot of things, business runs the world, more or less, and I surprisingly understood very little about it, so I just wanted to know more how the world functions and so on and so forth. And then combining both, well, basically sky's the limit, so I didn't want to restrict myself towards working in a company where I cannot, because a lot of companies have multinational operations, so I really want to be involved there and eventually make an impact and put your own stamp on how things run and how things go, and therefore you need to understand the whole picture, which I guess IBA offers.
I have a question here. Is it difficult to stay on track? Like, do many people fail their first year exams?
There's a passing rate of 80%, and between the first and the second year, and most of the people actually drop out because they see, like the 20% that leaves is often dropping out because they see that actually business is not for them. And you can keep quite easily the track because you often have bonus tests that you do regularly through the trimester or the block. You also have assignments, so you have to read everything to make sure that you stay on track, I would say.
And I think also, I mean, we do have midterms, so especially like when you just got here in your first trimester, some people might fall a little behind, and in their midterm, when they get their grade, they're like, oh, okay, I need to, pick up my pace. But that's why in the first trimester, I think you have midterms for almost everything. So like you do still have the chance to, with the final exam, equal that out again.
And I guess but it's still important to be highlighted that IBA is a large proportion of self-study, which means it requires also a way of discipline for you, which you kind of develop. So you usually see your grades go up throughout the first year because you kind of develop your own type of studying. So it definitely is an issue that you need, but this is like a very individual issue, so you need to find for yourself the way, how do I study best? If I have like midterm deadlines, I guess there's like guidance at hand in the first trimester or first part of the course. But yeah, basically, I wouldn't say it's hard, but you definitely have to put some effort in structuring yourself and not like lagging behind in certain courses.
But we do have a mentor program, which is a second-year student that assists you and helps for a smooth transitioning, which is in the first trimester. So she helps to give advice on how to structure and how to keep track of the courses.
And we also have student advisors, so if you are having problems, you can also visit with them. And you had a question for a long time.
I was wondering, how would you describe your experience stepping over from secondary school to university in terms of time management and like organization and things, and specifically to Nina, because you did IBs.
Should we repeat that again? So she wants to know how the transition was between secondary school to university.
Well, I mean, yeah, so I did the IB, and like at least in my school, like all of my teachers were, I mean, I was always a rather disciplined person, but like I still always had teachers on my back, like, oh, remember next week this is due, ooh, remember in 2 weeks. You don't really have that here. You kind of have to remember yourself. Like, I mean, you get course manuals and that gives you the main deadlines for each course, but you do have to like kind of make your own plan and see, oh, well, what happens if I have 2 things due that week? Like, you really have to make sure that you look at it yourself. Like, you won't have teachers on your back telling you when it's due. And other than that, I think in terms of organization, if you're going to move here and you're not living with your parents anymore, what was like kind of a little overwhelming for me at some point is like I just had no food. Like it did. I mean, like you're at home and like it just always appears. It's always in the fridge, and you don't have that anymore. You might run out of socks. I don't know. So those are also things to kind of keep in mind, I think. So yeah, but like I think the biggest difference is the teachers that aren't telling you every day, oh, remember. Like you have to do that yourself.
And maybe from the Dutch perspective, because I think there are a lot of Dutch students in the.
Yeah, I thought for me it was quite a smooth transition. I think that, well, something you have to get used to is, of course, that the teachers don't tell you, this is due at the specific date, and you really need to keep it structured for yourself. Also, you don't have as many classes as you would during high school, so there's a lot of self-study included in the program, but I would say for me it was very doable, and
Oh, I also have one more thing to add. There's a lot of like group assignments, and in school it would be the way that like you had a class and then the teacher would be like, oh, the next 2 hours work on your group assignment, but here you kind of have to just organize that yourself outside of the class. So like you'll go to the Facebook group or you'll look for the person's name that you're assigned to work with, And then, that person might be Dutch and they might be home over the weekend. So you have to really plan ahead and think, okay, when can we do this together? Do you maybe have a job next to uni that we have to do it in the evening? I don't know. So that's also something to keep in mind.
Has a question here? What do we? Maybe we a microphone. Oh, yeah, the microphone is there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that one first then, and then come back to you.
Do you need to pass all your courses in the first year in order to start your second year?
As things stand, this is the binding study advice that is there, so which means you need to obtain all your 60 credits in the first year, which means you either pass your course immediately or through the resit to continue studying. So as things stand, yes.
Here?
I've heard there is an opportunity to take philosophy as a double degree. And do you think the IBA and philosophy is a nice mix? And do you know any students who actually do it?
Philosophy and the double degree. Did anybody do
I'm
it?
not doing double degree.
Yeah, I know students that do that. I wanted to do it personally because I think it adds a lot. I had philosophy in high school, so I really was appealed to that. But eventually I didn't end up doing it because I did too much other extracurriculars in several organizations, so I just didn't have the time. But generally I think it's very nice. So the double degree philosophy basically is organized that you get philosophy modules you can pick, and you have to do a specific number to get the bachelor's basically, and it's perfectly matched with the schedules of IBA, which means that the philosophy classes are usually in the afternoon/evening, where you have to where you can visit the lectures. So there's no time overlaps because this is basically what the double degree provides you. And I think it is a great addition. I would have loved to do it. Sadly, I did other things instead. But yeah, generally it adds a lot to it, and yeah, usually you take a year longer then to finish up all your courses, but basically it's very flexible. So if you want to work hard, you can also just finish this bachelor in 2 years as well, because you just choose more modules in addition to your studies.
Yeah, this is a question towards Nina. In addition to what someone previously said, what was the academic pressure in comparison to the IB in the first year of IBA?
Well, I think it's just that in the IB, they give, at least in my school, I had internal deadlines as well. So I think it was a bit more that in school, they planned all the subjects together, so that the deadlines were a bit more spread out maybe. And then here, all of a sudden, you end up having exam weeks where you just have a week where you might have 3 exams or something. So I think I don't know how to say this, but it's more at once, kind of. So the way that you have your IB exams, that's kind of every exam period for us, if that makes sense. And you cover more content quicker. So you just have to really do more of the reading. Like in school, for example, I think teachers would go through every part of the book with you, whereas here, teachers cover content of the book, but there might also be parts in the book that they don't cover, so that might just be your personal reading that you have to do. So I think in terms of the academic pressure, it's just that you really have to make sure yourself that you really do all the reading, make sure that you go to the lectures and understand what they're saying. So it's just more that you have to do yourself, that you're not just being spoon-fed by someone. If that answers your question, I hope.
Is there actually a real disadvantage when entering the IBA course with an NG profile?
With what profile?
With an NG profile, without management and organization and without business school?
Well, I personally didn't do an economic profile myself either. I did the technical one. I don't think I had a disadvantage. It was fine. A lot of people didn't have experience with economics or business yet. And we have a lot of introductory courses, so it should be fine, yeah.
Yeah, mathematics and English are the most important things that we look at for admission. Yeah, I have no idea where the microphone is now. So
There's one here.
What is your typical week? Meaning balance between lecture, work at your place, working group, hobbies, and all the rest? Because you may work may have some spare time for working.
So it really depends. I know that I really adapt my week. I really do look at everything, what I have to do in a week on a Sunday. But I would say in general, we have approximately 15 hours of classes per week. And what they say is that we have to work on ourselves autonomously for like 20, 25 hours a week. And then you have time to have hobbies. Like I joined 3 or 4 organizations last year. This year, I still have, like, I'm doing the honors program. I still have 2 other associations that I joined. And I would say there is time to have hobbies, to see people, to do a lot of things on the side. But you just have to be very disciplined and make sure you plan everything.
I guess this is a big benefit you basically have is, as there's a lot of self-study involved, you have those classes, but most of them are not mandatory. So again, it depends on your approach. And I personally do, for example, 4 different other things besides my study right now. So this is very beneficial for me because I can time everything myself. So I use my calendar a lot to basically schedule everything in to see when I do what. So it adds this like great flexibility that you can do. It really, the program emphasizes or encourages you from its structure by itself that you can do things ahead, extracurriculars, join in associations, work a job, do whatsoever, do what we're doing here as ambassador, for example. So there's a lot of opportunities you can do that because it is so flexible in its scheduling, which is also a big difference to high school. We usually have classes set straight every week from, I don't know, 8 in the morning till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and here it's more like, well, you can go to a lecture, but if it doesn't fit, you can also do your reading, you can watch a webcast, and you can really schedule it yourself.
We have a question here.
So if you're applying with IB, is it important and helpful to do a lot of CAS projects?
So the question is, if you're applying with an IB diploma, is it important to do CAS projects?
Well, I mean, it depends on like what CAS projects you do, I guess. I mean, like some of my CAS projects, I had international experience in them. So I went to an orphanage in Romania, and so I think that international part helped a bit. But like, I don't think it's like if you do like a load of CAS projects now that it's gonna. I mean, obviously, like it shows that you can work and you're like a social person. You can adapt to different communities, and if you do something international, I think that's great as well. You should definitely add that. But it's not like the more you do, the better. It's just like I think if you have 1 or 2 really good CAS projects, like I focused a lot on the orphanage in Romania, I think that stands out more than if you say you did 15 different things, but they were all just kind of like mediocre.
Is there a certain level of English you need to have, or is it just your motivation or your international past that matters?
Maybe I can answer that question best. No, you do need to have a minimum level of English. If you have a Dutch VWO diploma, you need at least a 7. And if you don't have that, then you can also prove that your your level is good by taking one of the standardized tests. So we accept IELTS, Cambridge, and TOEFL exams. And you can look on our website if you have a different diploma. You can see on our website the minimum requirements for English, math, and overall grade for an incredible number of international diplomas. We have some questions up here. No, well, here. You could be next.
With regards to the course itself, like how much maths is there? Like how much maths do you have to do within the course? Like do you have to be extremely proficient in mathematics, or does it just have to be middle, or like how much?
Yes. So you definitely have to be proficient. But there's an introductory math course right in the beginning of your course where you basically get like refreshed with the basics. So this is also why math, besides English, is one of the main criteria that are required to apply. So because you have a lot of quantitative courses as well, being in operations management or finance, which we just need the basic mathematical tools. Like it is not that you need to calculate a lot of like just basic mathematics stuff. It's more really that you can apply it, and therefore mathematics is kind of the tool besides the language English you use to basically master all your courses throughout. So I guess, yes, it is a pretty important component in the program.
Yeah, and it's something we also select on. So just to mention that probably most of you have either done VWO or IB diploma. So you need math, VWO, wiskunde A with at least a 7. If you've done wiskunde B, we'll accept a 6. And for the IB, standard level 5 or higher level 4. Just the main diplomas. This person here had a question first. wants.
I heard honors program and not the rest.
Just elaborate on it.
Yeah, elaborate on the honors program.
Okay, so basically, it's at the end of your first year, you can apply for that program if you have more than a 7.5 average. And so there's a selection with 20 IBA and 20 BA students. And the program is basically on Silicon Valley, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And so we have extra classes, approximately 2 times per month. And we also have challenges. So for example, I know in December we're going to go to the space thing here in the Netherlands, and we're going to be able to advise them on how to it's kind of consultancy based. And then at the end of the year in March, we will go to Silicon Valley, having a study trip there and visit companies. But right now I haven't done a lot. I just had 1 class, so that's basically what I know.
We have about 5 more minutes, so we have time for a few more questions. You or wait, we have a microphone coming.
Thank you. This is just about mathematics again. You haven't spoken much about A-levels, which is normal because there's probably not many people from the UK. But A-levels are only, the students have only the possibility to pick very limited amount, which is three subjects.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course you can't choose many, like mathematics, and also if you are interested in business directly. So like my daughter, she's got business studies, economics, and German. So
you need A-level
the level of mathematics,
yeah.
Of course, in economics, it has to be there, but it's not the subject directly. So it's this very limited, or how do you prove her level, for example, in that case?
It's difficult with A-level because you need an A-level in math. So, yeah.
So it is, because I have contacted the school previously, and they say once she applies, probably they will look into it like...
Well, this is a really specific question for an individual, so maybe you can ask it again at the stand. But yeah, we do require English, an A-level.
It has to be one of the 3 subjects. Right, thank you.
A couple more questions. Someone here in the middle.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Extracurricular?
Yeah, which extracurricular activities do you do?
Yeah, I guess we can. Like for me, I'm in the student representation in the board there, which is basically the connection between student body and faculty personnel, so kind of what the class representatives do in high school. And so I'm in the board there. I'm a teaching assistant for a first year course. Ambassador is also an extracurricular we all have in common here. And I'm a member of the faculty council, which is kind of the, let's say, in a way, a supervisory board, the participatory body of the faculty.
Yeah, I'm an ambassador here. I take Dutch courses on the side. And I also I got invited to join the Erasmus honors program. So that's different from the RSM honors program. To be honest, I haven't looked into it that much yet. I just received the invitation yesterday. So, but I'm considering joining that. So, yeah.
So I do the honors program. I'm part of the RSMK Society, which is a consultancy-based student organization where we have to solve cases with a team of 4 students. And so we have basically a problem in the company, and during 6 or 8 hours, we have to solve it in a team. And I also do sports at the Erasmus Sports. And I also did other things last year, but I'm not doing them this year, so.
Currently, I am a student ambassador. I'm also an external relations manager at Enactus, which is a social entrepreneurship organization which helps startups. And I'm also planning on applying for a position as a math tutor at Grade Boosts. Yeah.
We have one more question back there.
What's the main difference between IBA and economics and business economics?
So I answer that?
I had my roommates last year was doing IBEB, and so I would say that the main difference, what we saw, is that she's really into basically economics, and of course, we had a class in microeconomics and macroeconomics, but for her it was way more deep and more into the mathematics, and we have the management part that they have less.
Yeah, I guess you could put it in, IBEB is more building descriptive models in a way that you can like predict. And IBA is more about the management part. So really like more on the soft skills, and IBAB is more hands-on mathematics. I have this process, I develop a model to describe it. Yes.
I think maybe IBAB is also more like theories of like the entire economy overall, whereas IBA focuses more on like how do I manage this one company.
We basically use the tools IBA students develop.
Yeah. I would have said the same thing, so very good. Yeah, that's unfortunately all we have time for now. But if you guys have more burning questions, you can either ask them at the stand or you can send a contact form question.